Hey everyone, Liam Faulkner here, and it's time for a review of this Oasis album, Be Here Now. This is the third studio album from Mancunian Britpop legends Oasis, who started in the early 90s in Manchester, co-fronted by lead guitarist and songwriter Noel Gallagher, essentially masterminding the band's trajectory through every era. He isn't solely responsible for all the band's songwriting over the years, but he is credited with the vast majority of it. And despite his reputation for being kind of an obnoxious asshole most of the time, he's still responsible for some of the most influential, high-selling, and important British rock records of all time. Be it Definitely Maybe or What's the Story Morning Glory, he really built up Oasis to be one of Britpop's giants, even with an ongoing rivalry with Britpop contemporaries Blur a few years before this, a drama that could be detailed in an entirely different review. But I digress. The truth is that all the big Britpop bands from around this time weren't exactly releasing their most outstanding material, or that they have at least seen the writing on the wall and slowed their momentum to pretty much a halt. But Oasis stayed pretty active around this period, not just releasing this album, but also with the huge world tour they did for it. So again, Be Here Now, another record from a legendary band that should have still had some gas left in them, and given that this album is being marketed as a sequel to their first two records, I'm sure a lot of people went into this expecting at least a little bit of a blowout. Something to think about after their last two albums. But all I really got with this record was the slow collapse of one of Britain's rock giants right in front of my eyes, with just a complete lack of creativity or charm top to bottom. Even the title, clearly after listening to this record, doesn't feel like they chose it out of it sounding cool or something, rather out of saying, be here now, because we aren't going to be around for much longer. I wouldn't say the recordings on this thing are a total bust, as vocalist Liam Gallagher is still killing it even after how good he sounded on the previous two albums, but at no point on this album do I get a sense of what this band's unique talents bring to this project. Again, bringing up their first two albums, which were absolutely bursting at the seams with the band's talent for creating appealing Britpop. The opener, Do You Know What I Mean, kicks off the album with window-shattering guitar feedback and helicopter samples before the rest of the band kicks in and creates a rather appealing opener. It's got a good tempo, groovy drums, pretty meaningless lyrics, but it's a worthy opener that does a good job in showing what's to come. But I feel like the really overblown mix kinda limits the song's strength. Like, I feel like the song would have had a much bigger impact had it not been mixed to sound like the loudest thing on planet Earth, you know? The chorus in the song is also kind of a mess as well, as it's practically meaningless and doesn't have a lot going for it. Coupled with the song's rather lengthy runtime of just under 8 minutes was one of the most agonizingly long outros I've ever heard in a mainstream rock record, basically sums up what this whole album is going to be like from the get-go. Following that, we have My Big Mouth, which isn't anything special either. It's basically a track about how Oasis were always saying ridiculous things in the media. But to me, this song is basically Oasis ragging their huge dicks in everyone's faces screaming, "We've made it, motherfuckers!" The mix is also somehow even worse than on the previous track, as it sounds even more compressed than before. Loud, overbearing guitars, inaudible bass, overcompressed drums, it has it all. Pretty much everything you should do well while mixing a song, this track doesn't do. Following that, we have one of the worst cuts off the record, Magic Pie, a once again completely meaningless track sung by Noel this time about him having a magic pie or something. It's boring, it's badly mixed, it's just nothing special whatsoever. Stand By Me is one of the more decent hits off this record, but it's once again bogged down by an exceedingly weak chorus that's repeated way more times than needed, as well as a terrible compressed mix. I hate to sound like a broken record, but the mix on the record really is that bad. It just ruins most of the album's clarity and makes potentially interesting dynamic songs feel flat and boring. I Hope I Think I Know is a pretty mediocre track, basically about Oasis shitting on the media for giving them so much bad press that they probably deserved, if I'm being honest. But the song doesn't really feel that bitter despite its subject matter. It actually feels like it's trying to be a really cheery or excited number, but for me, it just sounds soulless at best. This track is heavily carried by the decent instrumental and fine guitar performances. The Girl in the Dirty Shirt is another cut off this record I don't care much for, if I'm being honest. The basis for this song is about as random as you could possibly imagine, too. Like, Noel saw his girlfriend iron a dirty t-shirt and decided, that would be a great idea to write a song about. Newsflash, Noel, but it isn't. At all. Fading Out is one of the better produced songs on the record, but it still isn't anything I'd call good. The lyrics are once again pretty much nonsense, but the mix is pretty good, so I can give the song that. But just when you thought this record was beyond saving, with all these pretty mediocre cuts in a row, the album suddenly throws two really good songs at you, Don't Go Away and the title track. Don't Go Away is easily the best song off this record by quite a large margin, with a really good instrumental, somber meaningful lyrics, and a pretty good vocal performance from Liam. My only real problem with this song is that the vocals feel a little compressed sounding, but it doesn't fuck up the song that much. Meanwhile, the album's other pretty good deep cut is the title track, with a groovy instrumental, great vocal performance, and a decent length of just over 5 minutes. It's just good. But just as you think this record might actually start being decent, All Around the World comes to pull that thought crashing down. All Around the World is the ultimate amalgamation of everything wrong with this album. It's ripping off the Beatles, it is really overblown production, the lyrics are pretty much the most face value shit possible, it truly is the most stereotypical song on this album. The song starts off pretty decent with a cute acoustic guitar lead and a backing orchestra during the chorus, but then the song gets longer and longer and longer, and it keeps getting louder and louder and louder until by the end you're listening to Lehman Noel go na 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 over what sounds like a Mersbo demo song. Not to mention, there are 4 key changes in this song, almost as if Noel knew this idea wasn't working and had to shove it down the listener's throat as much as physically possible to try and make it work. Unsurprisingly enough, it didn't work, and it might just be the most agonizing listen on this whole record. It's Getting Better Man brings back the more rock-focused feel from tracks like My Big Mouth, but it could not be any more lifeless sounding. It's long, overly compressed, it's just a really soulless feeling rock number. Probably the one track on the record I'd say that's close to matching Magic Pie's quality of ass. Then finally we end on All Around the World Reprise, which, as the name suggests, is another 2 minutes of All Around the World's instrumental. That's it. Be Here Now to me represents Oasis collapsing right in front of your eyes. A cocaine-fueled, overblown, badly mixed, badly written disaster that pretty much ended the band's worldwide popularity. While Oasis would go on to still be high-selling artists in the UK until their breakup, they were pretty much irrelevant in most of the world from this point, and it's easy to see why if this was the quality of stuff they were putting out. Overall, I'm feeling a strong 3 to a light 4 on this thing. Liam, Oasis, forever.